Hi there, welcome to Elm Colors. I'm Erica. Today we are doing a color along of this lovely page by Janna Prosvirina called Ranger Team. This image is a new illustration created by Janna specifically for an event that a lot of artists participate in. This event is for August and it's called Smaugfest. This weekend kicks off the event for them, and this image and another will be offered at 30% discount on Janna's Etsy site this weekend, July 29th through the 31st. Also, Janna is offering a 10% discount to her shop and a giveaway of a set of digital images. To enter the giveaway, I will give you a word later in this video, and you can put that word in the comments. The winner will be picked at random and announced on my community tab on August 3rd at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, so that's it. And we're just going to basically be doing a color along today. I do have some color cards because some of this is going to be sped up. Some of it is going to be slowed down so I can talk to you about certain things. I am going to be working on the line art version, but she does have a beautiful grayscale version as well. And yeah, that is it so far. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to get my pages all situated here. So I have a couple of sheets on my clipboard. And then, and then I'm going to show you, this is my inspiration sheet for this image. I really loved the look of this ranger, and I thought that it would be a really cool way to color this character. I'm thinking her hair is going to be a nice red. I'm a little worried that it's going to blend in with the dragon a little bit, so I might do the dragon first and then focus on the character today. But I really liked these colors and the idea of this copper dragon. If you look at some of these images here, you can see there's a little bit of green on the edges, like how copper, turns like ages and patinas. I just thought that was so cool, and I just really liked that color palette and color scheme. So we're going to go a little bit with that. I have some markers pulled out. I have some pencils pulled out. And I do have little color chart or little color cards all situated so that we can just go ahead and get this colored. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to put a base layer of alcohol markers down. So this is basically also going to be kind of a little bit of a marker-based tutorial as well, showing you how I use alcohol markers as a base first and then going over top of that with my color pencils. So I am going to, like I said, just go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and do the dragon, I think, first, because that scares me a little bit more than coloring the character. I'm pretty proficient in coloring characters now. It's the dragon that that gives me a little bit of hesitation, but it's a beautiful, such a beautifully drawn dragon, and I'm excited to do this fun copper color on it. It's not a color I've normally done, or I've done for dragons before. So I have my markers up here. I have my color swatches, and I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to turn on some music. I'm going to speed this up, and I will talk to you guys here and again in a second. Okay, so here is the dragon first. I used a couple different, just 3 different colors. a nice light orangey base, which is kind of similar to this color here on my inspiration sheet. And I use that because if you look at these dragons, they all have that base underneath, and then there's lots of shading and stuff on top of that, but that lighter color is still underneath there. So that's kind of where I'm going. So that light base color is down, and then I'm going to shade on top of that. I also went ahead and added in the green to a couple of spots where I know that I wanted it in there, and then I will kind of shade that a little bit more as well. I wanted the center part here, I don't even know what that's called, the neck of the dragon, I guess, the underbelly, maybe, to be a little bit different, but not quite as different as the rest of them, but just slightly more yellow. So we're going to see how I do when it comes to shading that as well. But yeah, I like those colors. I really I'm excited about that. I think I am going to go ahead and do a base coat of the alcohol markers on the character as well, and then we will move to shading with pencils, just so I can get all my marker work done at once and set those aside. So I am going to go ahead, I'm going to zoom you in just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing on the character, the female character, and then we will get started again with some marker work. All right, so here is the just the marker base, and you can see there are a lot of places where the marker's not even. There are a lot of places where the it doesn't all the way cover everything, and that's fine because the pencils, this is really just like a base layer to work on top of. It does help with the vibrancy at the end of the image, but other than that, it's just kind of here just as a placeholder almost. And it does mean less work for me when I come on top of this to like blend and do all that stuff. So like I think what I said before, we're going to go ahead and do the dragon first, and then possibly we're going to do some background as well. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm probably going to do something similar to what I did with or what is on the... where is it on this? So where there's just a little bit of color kind of spaced around, and there's some white little dots. So we'll probably do something like that, and I might even do that with my chalk pastels, because it seems like it's easier to do it with that and an eraser. So yeah, so I am going to go ahead and start coloring this dragon. I'm going to have my images off to the side here so that I can kind of compare, and yeah, let me grab my colors. All right, I zoomed you back in. Hopefully I remember to move the camera as we go along. I'm going to start with a darker color, not the darkest that I have, but a darker one. So I'm going to start with the Terracotta. And I am just going to go and add in shadows where I think that shadows would be. So specifically under the wings, I think it's going to be a little bit darker. Along anywhere, you know, where there's lines along the edges of things, I'm going to be adding shadow in there. And yeah, and then along the body, I think we're probably just I'm gonna do kind of the same thing. So basically I'm just gonna speed color where I'm gonna add in this darker shade, and then we'll go from there. So I will talk to you again here in a second. Okay, I got the majority of the wings done. I do want to try to blend this area out underneath here a little bit better. So I went and grabbed my Caran d'Ache full blender, and I'm going to try to use this guy to kind of even this out a little bit. The paper I printed on maybe isn't the best for taking a bunch of layers, especially with my Prismas because they get a little waxy, but I thought I would give it a go. All right, I feel like that looks a little bit better. I might go ahead and come in with my Salmon Pink as well, just to give it a little bit more color in the center there. This Salmon Pink worked really well for blending all of the dragon. Okay, let me zoom you out so you can kind of see what we've got here. We've got the dragon's wings done and the little tail here. I really like the color that it turned out to be. I think it's a great color. And then we're going to work on the dragon's body a little bit now here too. I do want to add just a tiny bit. I keep seeing little bits and pieces of things where I need to add just a little bit darker tones or shades. So I'm using my my dark umber. Add just a little bit of shadow to a couple places. Just want to make sure that I get this along the underbelly. I don't know what that part of the dragon's called. I probably should have had, I don't know, brushed up on my anatomy of a dragon or something. And then I am going to add a little bit, just a tiny bit of this dark umber to the tail here. Just a little bit. And we'll blend that out a little bit with my chestnut. Okay. Okay, like the wings. Let's work on the dragon's body. So basically it's going to be the same thing where I am going over kind of in layers with all the different colors that I was using. I kind of have my shadows kind of put in where I want them. So I could go back in with my chestnut first and darken up the shadows and then blend from there. I think that's probably what I'm going to do. Let me just I'm going to get this leg back here done really quickly since it's just this tiny little bit. So that was chestnut, and then I am using the pumpkin orange, and then the mineral orange, and then the salmon pink. It just kind of blends all those colors together. Okay. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, we'll do a section here. Let's do the neck here. And I think I'll zoom you back in just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Hang on a second. Okay, so I am going to use my chestnut now in these darker areas here. So I'm just going to kind of go over where I put that terracotta color and just make those shadows just a little darker. I'm not going to worry about the scales yet, but I am going to do it along the edges and anywhere where there's going to be a little bit more shadow. So all these little floofy guys here. Right there, and then we'll go along, I'm going to go down along the front of the neck. Okay, so we added in this chestnut. I am going to come back in with the terracotta now, and I am just going to blend out a little bit from that. I'm using a very light pressure, holding the pencil pretty far back so that I'm not tempted to push too hard. And you can see I'm just kind of extending the color a little bit into the center there. Okay, so now we're going to use the pumpkin orange, and again doing the same thing, holding it farther back on the barrel, extending that color out into the center of the dragon's neck. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my mineral orange. And this one I can, when I get to the center, I'm going to be very light. So very, very light pressure on the center there. So that there's color on all of it, but that it's not overly saturated with color. Because that salmon pink really kind of brings all of this together. I am going to add this mineral orange right along the edge so that this isn't quite as white along the edge here. I want it to have a little bit more color there. Darken up. Using my chestnut again to darken up this area back here. Okay. And then, yeah, then we're going to use the salmon pink. And I'm just kind of using that as a blender. So I'm using a medium pressure and just kind of blending all of that together. Going right over the top of where the scales and stuff are. I'm not worried about that too much yet. I can go back in and add a little bit more detail to those. I really like this color combo. I'm glad that I went with this this color palette. I think it's going to be really pretty when it's done. Okay, again, right along the edges to kind of soften that line a little bit and add a little bit more color right onto the edges there. Okay, and then that one's not quite as blended as I would have liked, but I'm going to try again with my Caran d'Ache blender, see if that kind of gets rid of the tooth of the paper a little bit more. Yeah, and I'm not having to use a lot of pressure, and that's really the bonus for the alcohol markers. That's why I use them so much, because my hands hurt if I have to put too much pressure into like burnishing or blending things, and having that layer of color underneath really just kind of helps bring everything together. Okay, so that is basically what the whole body is going to look like. So I'm going to zoom out and we're going to speed color the rest of his body, and then we'll come back and work on his face together. Okay, so this is what the dragon's body looks like. I'm really liking how that's coming along. So let's focus in on this head here. I'm gonna zoom you back in. Okay, so I'm gonna be using similar colors, the same colors basically that I used for the body, but we're gonna have to start working in some of these little frills on the side. So I am gonna go ahead, I'm just gonna start with my darkest color for this one. We'll color the head together, and I'm just going to, again, show you some of the reference images. So I really like the way that the eye is deep set in this one, and that there's nice highlights and lots of good shadows all over on this head. And the same with this one. I really like how the horns are. I don't know if I'll be able to incorporate that so much there, but like this little bump above his eye, that'll definitely be able to be shaded really well. Yeah. And then this is where I'm going to start bringing in some of those other colors and that green patina color. So I'm going to add in my darkest color. So we're starting with dark umber. And I'm going right in the darkest areas and then right around, we're just going to color right around this eye. I want this to look pretty deep set. And we're gonna do a little bit there, and then again, right where the darkest shadows would be is where we're gonna add this color. Now, a lot of the times this is like a complete guess for me. And I probably could have really used the grayscale version on this one to just kind of help me out with where the shadows should be placed. But I'm just going to kind of do my own thing, I think, and see how that goes. So I'm just adding a little bit into the very darkest areas. So I want the little, it's not a beak really. I know it's the mouth of a dragon, like but it's like, it's almost shaped, it's almost a little beak-like. Okay, and then we're gonna color right underneath the lip to show that that is overlapping. Shade down a little bit so that's nice and shadowed. And then up here really is the only other place that I see need for super dark. So, and then anywhere where these little horns split off, I'm gonna extend that little bit with the this dark umber as well. Okay. Let's see, how do I feel about that? I do want to add a little bit more underneath the frill here, because I feel like that would definitely be a little bit in shadow, and then right under here would be in shadow as well. Okay. And then maybe a little bit underneath these scales on the face. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. So let's go to the chestnut. And again, I'm just going to extend the color from where I put all of that dark umber. So I'm just kind of, I'm not using heavy pressure or anything on this, just kind of extending, blending outwards. So this jaw underneath here is going to be pretty shadowed because it's overlapped by the top part of his jaw. Okay. All right, I think I like that. So let's go to the terracotta now. I'm going to start down here. Again, just doing the same thing, kind of extending the color outwards, going over some places that I want to blend out a little bit more. And this area is going to be, I'm going to have to kind of chill out with these colors because I need to have some of that yellowy color in there as well. Okay. See how I like that. That's pretty good. I am going to add in this terracotta color in a couple of places underneath some of these frills. Just to give a little bit of depth. We're going to switch to pumpkin orange. Like I said, I'm a big fan of this color palette. I am so happy with this choice. I think it's going to be so cool looking. So I'm very sparingly adding this color up into the horns here. And then again, I'm going to sparingly add in a little bit of this color into the shadow areas that I added with the Terracotta. And not using heavy pressure. Remember, just keep reminding yourself if you feel like you're pushing too hard, just kind of lighten up as best you can. Okay, so now we're going to switch to mineral orange. I'm going to start on the face here. And again, I'm moving my fingers back on the barrel so that I can use a very light pressure. Again, adding just a little bit of color to the horns, adding a little bit into some of these frills here. I don't want to get too close to where the green's going to be though, because I need to kind of work on blending that back into the orange first, and then I can kind of get all that blended together. All right, that's looking pretty good. Let's try this salmon pink. I'm not going to get into the frills yet to blend, but I am going to go ahead and kind of blend the face all together. So I'm using a medium pressure here. And you can just kind of see all of that texture just disappearing a little bit. It's nice and smooth. That is the beauty of Prismas, because they just smush. All right, let me blend these bits and pieces a little bit. I might darken up a little bit right in here. That's really the reason that I didn't push too hard with the salmon pink, is because I knew that I was going to have to come back in and darken some things up a little bit more. And I didn't want to get like that wax bloom issue. I could see that definitely happening on this paper. Okay, so the little frilly bits. So I have a bunch of different colors here. I'm hoping that something in this group of things works. So I'm going to start with the green parts, and I'm going to work backwards. And I've got, let's see. I have several colors here. We're going to start with this Cobalt Turquoise and see if we can just, and I'm just going to kind of flick it a little bit like hair so that it just has, I don't want any like I want it to be very organic shapes, so nothing structured, and just kind of random bits are going to be that color. So it's almost like, you know, rust in a way, when you do like rust on different things. You just kind of add the color in and then blend everything together. Okay, so now I'm using Aquamarine, and I'm very lightly just coming from the edge of that and shading outwards from that. Again, kind of in a flicking motion. I'm lifting my pencil up every time after I make a line. I don't want to just straight color on this part yet. Okay, then we're going to use, I'm going to use Celadon. And this is going to be kind of the in-between color between my yellowy color and this cobalt turquoisey color. All right, and then we're going to use Okay, so I have eggshell here, and I'm gonna just color that from the edges. I'm coloring into that turquoise color just a little bit to kind of blend it a little bit. This eggshell is another good color for blending, but I don't want to completely cover up that color, so I'm only doing part of it. Sorry if my hand's in the way. I am using this eggshell on the edges of all of the frills though, because that's where I want the lightest color to be. Okay, and then we're going to use this Jasmine color as kind of an in-between between that orange and the eggshell. So I'm going to make sure that I get this kind of over some of this orange color that I put in here. Okay, yep, so now I'm going to go back in with my, do I want this one? Yeah, I'm going to use this. So I'm going to use the dark umber, and this is really just for the shadowy bits. So anywhere where there's a frill, it's going to kind of create a shadow here. Adding it a little thicker in some areas, not quite as thick in others. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit around this little frill, and a little bit here. Some right here. Okay, I am gonna have to blend that out a little bit. So I'm gonna grab my terracotta. Ever so lightly blend outwards. I don't want it to be so dark, but I do want it to definitely, you know, look like it's casting a shadow. I might have pushed a little too hard with the dark umber. So we're just going to add a little bit back in there. All right, what do we think of that? I might add in a little bit more of this mineral orange. All right, I think I like that. I think that's cool. Okay, and the other thing that I really thought was pretty cool was the eyeball. How the eyeball is all completely turquoise. So we're going to try that. And I'm just going to go in with my, let's see, I'm going to use Aquamarine first, actually. And then I'm going to come in with my, what is this? Cobalt Turquoise, sorry. I'm going to kind of blend that out a little bit. I don't know if you'll be able to really even see what that did, but we're going to try it. And then I'm going to use my black to color in that pupil. All right, what do we think of that? I think that looks okay. I am going to go ahead and do what I normally do. So I have my white Posca here. I'm going to add just a little bit of a, oh, come on, Posca. A little bit of a dot here. And I can make that a little bit bigger, right? There we go. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this black and darken that shadow up just a tiny bit more, just along that ridge. And then underneath his eye here. Okay. All right, let's zoom out and see how that looks. All right. He looks like a pretty imposing dragon here, especially once I added in that eye. Sorry, I had a little bit of something there. I'm sure that'll get covered up when we do the background, but yeah, I think I might try to add a little bit more white in there because it didn't want to be white. It started to turn a little gray because of the black, I think. Okay, so his frills here and his tail here are kind of that same technique that we used up here. yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is just kind of speed that up for you guys to watch, and then I will be back with you and we will start maybe working on the girl here. So I will talk to you guys here again in a second. All right, so there is the dragon all done. I really like how he turned out. I might add a little bit more. I keep wanting to just keep touching him up in different ways, and I know that I don't need to, but I can't seem to help myself. So I'm using that salmon pink again here in this little section. I did add a little bit of jasmine there on top of the layers a second ago. I'm going to add in right along the edges of the scales. I'm going to add some more dark umber in there. And then right underneath this wing here, I'm going to add some of that dark umber. In this little area, just kind of left those scales I only added that one color at the beginning, and it was just haphazardly thrown on there, so I wanted to make sure that I get a nice shadow from those scales. Okay. Yeah, I think that he's done. I like the way that he looks. He's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to add just a little bit more, I keep seeing things, a little bit more chestnut into this area just to make this a little darker, because this would all be kind of pretty shadowed down here. So I think that chestnut color is a good alternative to like just a gray or something. Okay, I need my little eraser because my bow got all colored on. Okay, there's a dragon, guys. We got that done. All right, so the next thing that I am going to work on is the character here, the nice, lovely lady here. I think that I need to grab some of my colors, and I will be right back with you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start with the skin, and I have a couple of colors pulled. This shouldn't take too long. I'm going to make sure that I let you guys know what colors I'm using. Hopefully I will remember to switch out these cards if I need to. So I'm just going to start with the peach, or the light peach, and this is basically the same color that's already on here, but I'm just kind of mapping out where I want the shadows to be a little bit. Yep, underneath there, and then just kind of like that. with that. I'm going to do my peach now. So this is the peach. I'm just following the contours of the face, basically. I'm not going to do anything, like no crazy blending or anything on this one. We're just going pretty simple and yeah, normal here. Okay, I am going to attempt to draw in a couple of little hand lines there, like the tendons on the back of your hand. All right, so now I'm gonna go to henna, which is a lot darker, so this is gonna look crazy for a minute, but just bear with me. So again, we're just going right into the shadows here. I'm just going right over top of what I've already put down. She is going to have kind of a ruddy complexion a little bit, but she's with a dragon, so. All right, then we're going to use black raspberry, and I'm going to just put this color in the very darkest areas, so underneath her chin for sure. And where her hair kind of overlaps places. And then maybe just a little bit in the shadow here. Okay. So now we're going to go backwards a little bit. So now I'm going to go back to my peach. And I'm going to blend that out a little bit. I'm going to add a couple more colors here in just a second. Okay, so now I'm going to use the eggshell, and I'm hoping that this kind of tones down that red just a tiny bit. I don't have a card for this one, but this is the cream, so this is the Prismacolor Cream, and I'm just going to go over everything again with this all the way to the edges. Everything that I haven't, like I said, it's gonna be a little bit of a red color palette. She's a little redder. Okay, so we're gonna give her some blush here. I don't know if this pink is actually gonna work, but we're gonna try. Give her a little bit on this side, a little bit on her nose. Oops, don't use your hand. Use your brush. We're going to give her a little bit of a pink chin. Yeah, and then I am going to have to come back in with a darker, like, brown tone. So I'm going to try, let's do, all right, we're going to try it with this dark umber and see what happens. So I've got my dark umber, and I'm really wanting to put some dark underneath her chin, along her hairline here. Just kind of bringing back some of the shadows that should be there. Okay. I like that a little bit better. Let's do it on underneath her clothes here. Along the bracers. Although it wouldn't be quite so evident there. And then in between her fingers here. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna use this henna, I think, for her lips. And then come back in with this brown again, just to darken up that line. I'm gonna use the black raspberry to shade her lips just a tiny bit, Okay, eye color is going to be the same as the dragons, so I'm just going to go straight in with this Cobalt Turquoise, I think. There we go. And I'm going to blend that a little bit with this Jade. Is that Jade? Yeah, with the Jade. And then the last little step for me on her face will be to add in some black. I'm going to darken up her eyebrows and kind of bring back her eyes a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit of liner. There we go. See if I can get a little bit more pink on her cheeks. Okay, I think her face is done. Okay, so hair, and this is a lot easier when you have a color down. So coloring hair with Prismacolors is not my normal idea of a good time. However, it's really, the trick that I have is I go through first with my lightest color. So this is going to be Eggshell, and I just kind of mark out where I want my highlights to be. And since I have that alcohol marker down, this lighter color shows up on there, and that's pretty cool. And then I want a little bit of highlight right through here, and maybe a little bit on these strands there. Shows up even better with white. Wonder how this cream would look. Ooh, the cream probably would have been better. Anyway, that's okay. So I'm gonna, I have this red base down, and I'm gonna add some darker colors on top. So first I'm gonna be using the black raspberry. And this is just gonna be for all of the areas that are gonna be in shadow, and then like the darkest strands of hair. And I'm not doing like a whole bunch of flicks. I just do a few here and there. Yeah, and then wherever hair might overlap, I kind of add in that color. And then, of course, in the darkest areas, it's going to be this color as well. So we're going to have it down at the bottom a little bit. And I'm not pushing hard, I'm just kind of flicking up with this color. Okay, and then, yeah, and then I just kind of start going to town. So this area in here I've decided is going to be a little darker. So then I flick outwards from where I've got all of those colors down. Okay, now I'm going to use henna, and I'm just going to extend my flicks from there. And I've not used this color combo before on this hair, so every time I do this, it's kind of an experiment though, because if I use a specific marker as my base, then putting different colors on top is just kind of hit or miss, really. And so I've got that nice fiery red color as a base, but I don't want to cover it all up, so. Okay, got that. I'm going to add in, oh, so that one was henna, which is that. I'm going to try pumpkin orange, because I like that orangey color that's in there. I really am just kind of flicking mindlessly too. I might need to grab a red. I thought I was going to be able to get away with the colors that I'd already used so far, but I think I need a red in here. Okay, so now I'm going to use this permanent red, which I'm using from the darkest areas just to kind of redden those up, because those are looking a little like black, and I don't really want it to be black. I want it to be really dark red. Okay, and then I'm going to use Salmon Pink as the last color, and we'll see how this goes. It's going into that eggshell that I already put down. All right, so let's see, how do we fix that now? I'm going to come back in with the black raspberry and try to bring a few more of these strands in. And go back over that with the red. Oops, so that one was the black raspberry, and I'm using the permanent red again. And again, this is just me kind of testing stuff out, seeing what works. I am not the hair expert here. If you want hair experts, go see Colorfully Optimistic's channel because she is a pro at hair. I just kind of fake it till I make it, right? All right. Well, I think that's pretty good. I don't think it looks bad. I'm gonna darken up that a little bit, darken up this little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of follow some of these pieces. Okay, I think she looks pretty good. She looks pretty good. Okay, time for the clothes. I've got this kind of all. Now, I did not color any of this beforehand, so a lot of this is just kind of guesswork. And me hoping, you know, crossing my fingers and hoping that these colors do what I want them to do. Okay, so we're gonna start, with the, where to go? We're gonna start with the Cobalt Turquoise. I'm gonna put this in all of the shadow areas. Again, clothing is not my forte, but I will do my best. I just kind of really, when I'm doing clothes, I just kind of guess where they might be. Like I go off of the lines that the artist provides typically, and then if there's like another little dip in there, then I will add in my own little shadow bit a little bit. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. Just want to make sure I get all those little, okay, so if you look up here, so right in the shoulder here, there's a little bit of a dip. So I'm just going to color a little bit. It's almost like a little tiny pyramid right there. I'm going to do the same here. Along the sleeve here, I'm going to very lightly go along the edge. Same thing right here. And then I'm also under here, so this is all going to be dark because it's underneath that, whatever that is. And then I'm going to go right along the edge here. Pushing pretty light on those areas, and then a little bit thicker right there. Okay, so we're going to try that. I'm going to go switch to my Aquamarine and see if I can make this look pretty cool. Sometimes it's, you can extend these lines a little bit that they've drawn in. When you go to shade with a different color, it kind of, I don't know, it makes it look, I don't know how to say it. It makes it look like the crease is like fading out, you know, so it blends in a little bit better. You don't want to push hard when you're blending this out either. You want to make sure that you lighten up your pressure, all that good stuff. Okay, I am going to bring in my white here, And on some of these, I'm going to do like a little highlight above where my shadows are. So. Okay. All right, that is her shirt. I'm going to do the collar really quick. I do want to make that just a little, I think I'm just going to make it straight dark. I'm just going to do that. Then I'll add in a little bit of, we're going to use black as a sheen. Here we go. Okay. So that is her shirt. Let's do the pants really quick, and then we will work on the leather bits. So for her pants, I have a couple of colors pulled, and I am not sure how this is going to work at all. So we're going to see on this one. Okay, we're going to start with slate gray, and I know that that is not anywhere near the color of what is happening on her pants right now, but I kind of wanted to be a little dark, and I want these to look well loved. So not really dingy, but definitely used. These are well lived in pants. Here's another little bump that I'm gonna add a little bit of detail to. Okay. So I'm just going right along the edge of the pants there. Okay. I'll do a little bit there. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to try this Jade color. This is a really nice gray-green color. And that is working pretty well. The only other thing I might do is I might come in with a gray color instead of that slate color, just to dirty these up a bit. I know I just said I didn't want to make them dirty, but I want them to look, like I said, well used. I do like this color though. This Jade color is awesome. I do want to leave some space for some highlights as well, so I might add in a little bit of those on here in a second. Okay, let me brush that away, and then we're gonna go, let's try, first I want to do some white, so I'm gonna add some white just into these sections where I know that there is a little bit of a highlight. I want a little bit along her derriere. And a little bit there. Okay, I think that's good. So now I'm going to use the 70% warm gray. I'm going to try my best to dirty this up a little bit. Okay, and then I was going to use some other warm grays, but I think I'm going to use a French gray. I think that might help a little bit. So I'm going to use my 70. No, we're going to try this one. I'm going to try my 50% French gray. So that is PC1072. Just to blend this out a little bit and see what that does. I might go through one more time as well with my, what is that called? With my Jade green and try to blend that out a little bit. So yeah, so we're gonna go back in with Jade. Sorry, I've not been using these little guys. I am not used to using those, and we're gonna blend that out. That looks, I like that. All right, what do we think? So I was trying to go for something like this, but it's not quite the same, but it still kind of looks a little dingy and dirty, right? Let me try this. Instead of the white, let's use this eggshell. See if that kind of adjusts the color here. onto the leather. Let's, I'm going to go ahead and start with, we're going to start with dark umber. And I'm going to color in the little grooves here. So each of those is going to get some color. I'm also going to, I'm going to turn this just a little bit. I'm also going to color underneath where the blouse is coming over the edge. And then right along the edge of the bottom line. Okay, so that was the dark umber. Next, we're going to go to, I'm going to use the chestnut. Same thing, I'm just going to blend outwards from where I put the color already. Next is Terracotta. Again, following that same pattern. All right, we're going to try this Sienna brown. Let's see if maybe that, I think that's a little bit better. Okay, and this section in the middle here, so there's like shading on either side. So this one, you're going to keep the shading a little bit more in the center parts. Okay, and then the last thing that I need to do, I'm going to come back in with my 70% warm gray, I believe. Do I want to use that? No, I want the 90. So I'm using the 90% warm gray, and I'm just going to kind of outline the character here, so she kind of stands out a little bit from the dragon in the background, because I know that those colors are really close together, and I want to make sure that she doesn't get lost in there. Okay, so I'm going to use this 90% warm gray as well to trace. I'm actually going to need a straight edge, so let me, just found this book depository bookmark. I just want to add a little bit of a shadow where the, let me turn this way a little bit, where that bowstring would cast a little bit of a shadow. And so I'm just going right just underneath it. So it's not touching it, but it's just creating this. Okay. All right, so now onto her bracer. We're going to use the same colors that we used on her, what is that called? I don't even know what that is. Whatever that is, the little waist cinchy thing. It's not like a girdle. Maybe it's a leather girdle. I don't know. Okay, so she's got this cool design on her bracer here. So I want to kind of highlight that. So I'm going to add in shadows onto the design here. And you can see I'm just doing it on the one side, and then I will come over this way and that way, and then down on this side. Okay. All right, and I think that should be good. And then I'm just going to lightly give a little bit of shadow along the edges and along the top and bottom. Okay, so we're going to switch to chestnut. And we're going to go terracotta. And then sienna brown. And then last, we're going to use this eggshell, and I'm going to go over the top of this design just so it kind of pops out a little bit there. There we go. There's her bracer. And then again with the 90% warm gray, because that color is kind of close. So I'm just going to kind of almost outline her all the way around, but I want to get very close to her arm because I don't want her to be casting like a big shadow or anything. I just want her to be able to stand out from the dragon. All right, next we've got the bow. And this one's going to be a little tricky for me because I want to do like a little bit of a goldish color, but I also want it to be close to the copper, but not exactly. I know the wood part here is going to be really dark, so I want to grab another color here. Okay, for the wood on the bow, I'm going to start with Sienna Brown and just do a light layer over everything. Okay, and I'm going to use Chocolate, which is a newer one that I haven't used really, and I'm just in the, I'm going to add a little bit of shadow. This will kind of give it a little bit of a different color so that it's maybe not too close. Actually, I need to erase some of this because I put the shadow on the wrong side, because I want the shadow part to be on the inside of the bow. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my dark umber, and again, just following like where the darkest parts would be, and then adding this nice dark shadow line along the inside edge there. Okay, and then I'm going to use the Sienna Brown again, switch, and just kind of shade out from that. And we'll hope that I think that'll stand out enough from the dragon. It's more brown than it is orange, although it is kind of close, so maybe I'll add a little bit more chocolate. Okay, and then along the edge I'm going to use Eggshell. And it just kind of blends it a little bit back in there. All right. I am going to use, again, my 90% warm gray to get the shadows nice and sharp in here. All right, this part of the bow. I know sometimes they're wood, but I also have seen them with metal. So we're going to try for some metal. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I'm going to do my best. All right, so we're going to start with some dark umber. And I'm going to add that into all of these super dark places. And anywhere where I think maybe a shadow might be. All right, next I'm going to use Sandbar Brown. Okay, and then actually I need to go back to the dark umber because I need to create the shadow there from the hand. I don't know what I was thinking there. I don't know if this is actually going to look like metal or not, but we're going to give it our best go. Okay, so next, this is going to seem weird, I'm going to use peach. I'm going with some Sienna Brown as like an in-between color there. Too big of a jump from the Sandbar Brown to the peach. Okay, then we're going to use light peach. A little bit of light peach. And then some eggshell. And then I don't have a card for this, but this is the Prisma Cream. I'm going to go over all of that. It doesn't quite look like metal. Not quite. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add in some Jasmine. Okay. We're gonna go back in with the dark Umber. Try to get that darkness back in there. This is the Sienna brown. Well, that didn't turn out exactly like I wanted, but that's okay. Okay, and then her crown is the last little bit, and I was really tempted to just do it, I think, maybe in these same colors that the crest was in. So let me grab those. Okay, so on the crown here, I'm gonna add a little bit of the this like turquoisey color, and so we're gonna just get a couple of spots on here. Nothing huge. I might do this little gem. Those is like turquoise gems, maybe. We'll get a little bit of turquoise on that part. Okay, and then I don't really have a whole lot. Oh, so that was the Cobalt Turquoise. I'm going to use the Aquamarine now, and this is just going to be to shade it out just a little bit. It's not really going to, because it's such a small area, this is really not ideal. Okay, so now we're going to use, I'm going to use Terracotta. I'm going to start that in the darker areas. Okay. We're going to try mineral orange next. Then we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just go, oop, no, not that one. I'm going to go straight for Jasmine. See how that did, and then maybe come in and add a little bit of dark umber in some of the spots that I know are going to have quite a bit of shadow. So where places overlap. There we go. Let me brush that away. And then I will go ahead and use the eggshell just to kind of blend things a little bit better. All right, I think that's it. So now we can move to the background. I know this video is super long, and if you have stayed with me this whole time, thank you so much. I'm going to zoom out, get my supplies together, and I will be right back with you. Okay, so here it is without the background, and I'm going to be using these Mungyo soft pastels. It's just a little box of tiny little pastels, and I am going to be using the grayscale art as a reference for where I want to put my colors. So when I do this, so here's the colors that I've chosen. When I do this, I just use a little cotton pad. So just these little basic cotton pads, and I fold it in half over my fingertip and fold it again so that I have a nice little point here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the lightest color. So we're going to move those guys out of the way. Of course, get chalk all over my stuff while I do it. I'm going to start with the yellow, or the golden, and just get some on my pad. So there you can see I've got it all nice on there. And then just start rubbing lightly in circles. So we're going to get some around here. And because the Prismas are pretty waxy, it's going to resist the majority of the color. So if you accidentally go over your colored portion with chalk, it's not going to be super messy, which is pretty cool. Okay, and we're going to get a little bit up here, just kind of randomly hit or miss with some of the lightest yellow. The other nice thing about chalk pastels is that you can erase it. So you don't like where something went, you can erase it. Okay, so now I'm going to use my same pad, but I just folded it a little bit differently. I'm going to go with my next darkest color, which is like this nice orangey brown color. It's pretty close to what color the dragon is, actually. And I'm going to grab a couple of spots here. This is a little bit more sporadic than the gold, but I can come back in and kind of blend it a little bit more so it's not just like big blobs of color. Okay, and then one more time, I'm going to open that back up, refold it so I have a nice clean edge, and use this darkest bit. I'm going to use that on the bottom here. It's a little more red than I intended, so I'm going to go back through. I'm going to use the same, that red bit, but I'm going to add a little bit of that orangey brown to it and just kind of go back over the spaces that I just went through. And it's going to give a little bit of the red tint as well as this nice copper color that I have in here. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my yellow or gold or whatever color you want to call that. And just do another little bit here and there, just kind of blending things out as best I can. Okay, so now I've got a couple of tools that I like to use for this technique. I have my Derwent electric eraser, so you just push the button and it goes. I have my Tombow Mono Zero eraser as well. And those two really work well together to create, I'm going to just kind of go through and create some little dots. So we're going to do one right about in there. And I want to vary the size, so I'm going to get bigger. And I tend to use my mono Tombow one until I need like the little bitty ones, and then I'll use my electric one. Because I can kind of make my own circle size with this one. Okay. Oh, that one's a little bit big. So we're going to come back in with some chalk pastel and just kind of cover it back up. You want to try to make them as circular as possible, but it doesn't always work out. So, okay, so since it's pretty dark down here, I'm going to switch to the electric one. And then I am going to brush away some of the debris. The electric one tends to work better for getting, like, really removing the chalk. I'm just going to do a big guy there. Okay. Then we're going to do a little bit on here, a little bit on there. Try to get that one. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to move up over here. I'm going to try this one first. And yes, I just put my hand in all of the chalk pastel, but it's not too thick of a layer, so it's not going to stick to me, which is nice. Okay, and we're going to go a little bit bigger with this one. Brush that away a little bit. I do not like either of those guys, so we're going to cover it back up. Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, let's do this one here. So this is going to be a bigger one. We have a little one. And then, okay. This didn't erase very well. All right. And then if I want to, I can come in with, let's see, what I'm gonna just grab a mineral orange, and I can kind of darken up some areas and blend into the chalk pastel, and that really kind of helps get the variation. Because the chalk pastels, they work well, but unless you use, you know, a ton of colors, you don't always get the deeper, darker tones that you want. And sometimes, you know, things tend to blend together a lot. So you can come back in with your pencils and really get the darker tones that you want in your page. Okay, I think that looks good. I might add a little bit just to the outside of this circle. Okay, and then we're gonna add a little bit more around here. Add a little there, add a little bit. We're gonna do a little bit around this guy here. I do want to do a couple small ones right here. And again, I'm holding my pencil pretty far back on the barrel so that I can just use the edge and blend lightly into the chalk pastel. Let's get, yeah, I might actually bring in, I wasn't going to, but I am. So here's the pumpkin orange, and I am going to bring that down for some of these darker bits down here. So we're just going to color in this area, pretty dark right in here. I might even bring in, let's try some henna, see what that does. Just to darken this part up just a little bit more. I like that. Okay, and then down here at the bottom. And then this way you can come in and kind of straighten up your circles too if they're not perfect circles, like that one was not quite the circle that I wanted. Color there. I'm going to add in the henna down here. And then, yeah, and then down here as well. There is a little circle here as well that I did not get to. All right, we're going to get that one in there. Last but not least, I'm going to add just a little bit of jasmine in a couple places, just to kind of bring some of that gold back in there. I really love this jasmine color. I've been using it a lot on things. And then extend this so this doesn't look like a crazy hot mess. This is all very abstract. We want it to be pretty, you know, you don't want straight lines anywhere. But sometimes your chalk pastels have a mind of their own, and so you kind of have to come in and fix it a little bit. I am going to add in another couple of dots right here. There we go. Okay, so I think that is our page. I really like the way that it turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it's a little bit longer video for me, but I wanted to make sure that we got the color along all done in one sitting. Well, in one video, so you didn't have to wait for me to release them over and over. But I think that, yeah, you know, if you want to pause it and start it again when you have time, that'd be great. I would love to see if you colored this with me. Please tag me on Instagram. Make sure you guys use the hashtag Smaugfest, and I'll put that on screen again. If you don't know, Smaug is the dragon from The Hobbit. I'm guessing that was their inspiration for their artist group there. And then, yeah, tag me, tag Janna, and it would be at Janna Fairy Art. I will have all of her links in the description below as well. And the word that I would like for you guys to say in the comments to enter the giveaway is copper. Yeah, so copper, C-O-P-P-E-R. Yeah, so I hope you really enjoyed that. I hope that you guys go give Janna some love. Her artwork is so stunning, and I've had such a fun month coloring in her books. Yeah, I can't wait to show you everything that I did in my finished pages this month. So, okay, that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, for watching this, and I will talk to you again soon. Take care. Bye.